Your body lives in survival mode, always bracing, always preparing, always protecting, even when there's no immediate danger. Fear, how it shapes your mind, body, soul, and relationships. How did fear change me? There was a time in my life when I didn't realize that fear was running the show. Not loudly, not obviously, not in a way that screamed danger on the outside, but very quietly, silently in the background. Fear showed up in the way I overthought, the way I second guessed myself, the way I felt things deeply but struggled to trust what I felt, the way I stayed too long in things that hurt me, the way I kept hoping people would become who they said they were instead of accepting who they had already shown me they were. And for a long time, I didn't call it fear. I called it loyalty, I called it love, I called it patience, I called it understanding, I called it giving people the benefit of the doubt. But underneath all of that, a lot of it was fear. Fear of being abandoned, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing connection, fear of being too much, fear of not being enough, fear of starting over, fear of trusting myself. And the truth is, many people are living like this, especially women and men in their 30s to mid 40s who look functional on the outside, but inside they're tired. They're confused, hyper aware, overgiving, emotionally drained, but still trying to understand why they keep ending up in the same cycles, in relationships, in family, in friendships, and even in the way they relate to themselves. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Inner Bloom Journey podcast. I am your host, Salma, Mindset and Relationship Breakthrough Coach from Jay Shetty Certification School. I come here every week to bring awareness on topics that are often uncomfortable, rarely talked about, but are deeply real. My purpose is very simple: to help you heal, let go, grow, transform, and evolve into a better version of yourself. And even if one person feels seen through this work is worth it. Today, we're talking about fear. Not surface level fear, not just being scared of something happening. We're going to go deeper. So fasten up your seatbelts, grab your favorite beverage, maybe a snack, and let's unpack this together. We'll unpack into what fear really is, what it does to your mind, your body, your soul, and how it begins in childhood and how it follows you into adulthood, shaping how you love, trust, stay, tolerate, shrink, and survive. Because fear doesn't just live in your thoughts, it lives in your nervous system, in your body, in your identity, and in your relationships. And if it goes unaddressed long enough, it can start feeling like your personality. Before we go deeper, I want to say this gently. This content is for awareness and reflection purposes only. Not to diagnose, not to shame, not to stir anything up unnecessarily. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And honor yourself as you listen. Let's dive in. What is fear really? Fear is often seen as something negative, but fear at its core is protection. It's your system saying, pay attention, something here feels unsafe, something here reminds me of pain. So fear itself is not the enemy. The problem begins when fear becomes your default. When it starts making your decisions, narrating your worth, defining your relationships, shaping your identity. That's when it goes from protection to limitation. How fear impacts the mind. Let's talk about it. Fear hijacks the mind. It creates overthinking, worst case scenarios, self-doubt, mental confusion. A fearful mind is always scanning, reading tone, analyzing behavior, trying to stay one step ahead of pain. And over time, peace starts to feel unfamiliar. Calm feels suspicious. Consistency feels boring. Healthy love feels uncomfortable because the mind has trained by chaos. So instead of relaxing into safety, it stays on guard. And this is where many people ask, why can't I just relax? Why do I keep overthinking? Why do I feel anxious even when nothing is wrong? Because somewhere along the way, fear taught your mind that safety isn't stable. How fear impacts our body. Let's talk about it. Fear doesn't just stay in your head, it lives in your body. Tension, tight chest, restlessness, fatigue, poor sleep, shallow breathing, racing heart. Your body keeps score. When fear becomes chronic, your body lives in survival mode. Always bracing, always preparing, always protecting. Even when there's no immediate danger. That's why people feel exhausted. Not lazy, not weak. Exhausted. Because survival is exhausting. How fear impacts the soul. This is where it goes deeper. Fear disconnects you from the truth. You start censoring yourself, doubting your instincts, staying quiet when something feels wrong, choosing connection over authenticity, and slowly you lose the relationship with yourself. You start looking outside for validation, for approval, for identity, because fear taught you not to trust what's within. What fear does to a child? Fear often begins early, not always through obvious trauma, but through inconsistency, emotional neglect, criticism, unpredictability. A child doesn't analyze this. A child adapts. They learn to stay small, read the room, people please, suppress emotions, perform for love. And that adaptation helps them survive. But later, it costs them. That child becomes the adult who now struggles with boundaries, fears rejection, overgives, tolerates too much, questions their reality, and secretly feels not enough. Fear doesn't exist on its own. It is deeply tied to trauma, trust, self-worth, and gaslighting. When fear begins in childhood, it becomes trauma, and that trauma shapes everything. How you see yourself, how you trust, what you believe you deserve. Fear distorts trust. Not just trust in others, but trust in yourself. You feel something is off, but you question it. You see red flags, but minimize them. You know the truth, but you stay anyway. Because fear says, what if you're wrong? What if you lose them? What if this is just the best what if this is the best you'll get? Fear also erodes self-worth. You're too much. You're not enough. Be grateful for whatever you get. So you settle, you overgive, you over-explain, you over-tolerate. And this is where gaslighting becomes dangerous. Because when fear already lives inside you and someone distorts your reality, you don't just doubt them. You start doubting yourself. You feel something, but you silence it. You see something, but you dismiss it. You know something, but you override it. And over time, you disconnect from your own truth. That's the real damage. Not just losing them, but losing yourself. I believe fear can make a person abandon themselves long before they leave a situation. I believe many people are not weak. They're operating from survival patterns. I believe what we call insecurity is often unresolved fear. I believe what we call personality is sometimes protection. And I believe healing begins when you stop fighting your fear and start understanding it. The goal is not to eliminate fear. The goal is to understand it, regulate it, and stop letting it control your life. Ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Is this fear present or from the past? Am I staying out of alignment or out of fear? Do I trust them or do I just don't trust myself? Healing looks like this: honoring your truth, setting boundaries, choosing clarity over confusion, choosing peace over performance, choosing self-respect over emotional attachment. And most importantly, learning that love does not require self-abandonment. For those of you in your 30s to mid-40s, you're waking up, you're seeing patterns, you're questioning things, you're realizing that what you called love was sometimes fear. And yes, that's painful, but it's also powerful. Because once you see it, you can change it. Fear may have shaped you, but it does not have to define you. Fear taught you how to survive. Now it's time to learn how to live. So I'll leave you with this today. What has fear made you believe about yourself that is no longer true? And what would you change in your life if you stopped building your identity around fear? and started building it around truth, self-trust, and self-worth. If this spoke to something within you, don't rush past it. Sit with it, reflect on it, because awareness like this is where change begins. And if you're ready to do this, work to heal, let go, grow, transform, and evolve. Walk this journey with me. I thank you all for watching. Have a blessed day. Stay grounded and stay safe. Take great care of yourselves and your loved ones. I'll see you next week with something exciting and a topic that we need to talk about. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. Take care, stay safe, and always remember you're whole, resourceful, and complete just the way you are. Let go, grow, transform, and evolve. This is your Inner Bloom journey. See you guys next week. Take care. Love you all. Thank you so much.